Hey everyone, sorry I'm not there with you today. And I wasn't there with you on Friday because I hurt my back, and so I'm gonna have to take some time off from work. I'll be back in the classroom with you after winter break, hopefully. You're still gonna have your quiz tomorrow on adding positive and negative integers. So that's why I wanted you to work on this addition sprint when you came in the classroom today. Um, you should know that your quiz tomorrow will be entirely about addition. There won't be any subtraction on there. You will need to be able to just answer some simple addition questions like this. You will also need to be able to draw a vector model about addition, and you will also need to be able to answer a question regarding addition when it comes to the integer card game. So I'm going to go through the answers to this integer sprint. For the first few, I'll sort of like talk my way through them. And then after that, I'll just start writing the answers after you've heard me talk enough. So the first question, I've got a positive and a negative. When we add those, the trick is to subtract bigger minus smaller. So 8 minus 5 is 3. And then since the positive number was larger, we'll leave our answer as positive. Same thing with the second one, 10 minus 3 is 7. I apologize for the way this document camera constantly zooms in and out. Every time I put my hand there, it wants to focus and not focus, which is really annoying. Nothing I can do about it. But yeah, so 10 minus 3 is 7. The positive number was bigger, so we leave our answer as positive. 2 plus negative 7. Let's go and do it as 7 minus 2, which is 5. Then this time the negative number is larger, so our answer will be negative 5. 11 minus 4 is 7. Negative number is larger, so negative 7. Here's our first one that's a little bit different. We've got a negative number plus a negative number. And so we can just add these up as if they're a positive. 3 plus 9 is 12, but then toss a negative symbol on there. Same thing with the next one, negative 12 plus negative 7. Let's just add those up and make 19, but it's going to be negative 19. Okay, I'll just start going a little bit faster now. 13 minus 5 is 8, negative 8. 9 minus 4 is 5. Leave it as positive. This one's 0. This one's also 0. This one will be negative 6. Okay, I'm down at number 12 now. Number 12 will be 2. Then we've got 3. And then we've got negative 7. Positive 24. Negative 25. I'm doing this for the first time in a while, and I'm not checking this stuff that closely as I go. So if you catch a wrong answer as I go, point it out to your classmates so everybody can have the right answer. This one looks like it's going to be negative 3. And I'll move up to the top over here to number 18. Let's see here, 38 minus 25 is 13. It's going to be negative 13. 19 plus 11 is 30. So negative 30. Here we've got negative 5. Negative 46, positive 13, negative 8, I believe. Yeah, negative 8. Let's see here, 28 minus 13 is 15, but it'll be negative 15. This one's going to be 0. Remember the term for those is additive inverses, two numbers that are opposites of each other, and when you add them, you get 0. Additive inverses. All right, we got negative 7 here. Negative 56, negative 36. Don't get tricked up here. That almost looks like additive inverses, but you're adding the negative version of 18 to itself twice. 26 minus 14 is 12, so we got negative 12. Okay, so here we've got a few where we have to add multiple numbers, or more than 2. My suggestion is always add the negatives and the positives separately, because those are really easy, right? You just add them up as normal, except the negative ones get a negative sign and positive ones don't. And then you wind up with one positive, one negative, and you do the trick for adding those. You subtract them and then take the sign of the larger one. You could do it any way you like. You could just go left from right or whatever order, it doesn't matter. That's just the way I will always do it. Negatives, positives separately, and then combine them at the end. So here I'm gonna add the negatives. 7 plus 3 is 10. So I have negative 10 plus 8. Subtract them. 10 minus 8 is 2. And then negative 10 that I did that with was bigger. So it's going to be negative 2. Here I'll add the 2 and the 4 to make 6, and then combine that with the negative 15, gets me negative 9. Here I have 3 numbers, but they're all negative, so I can just add them as if they were positive and throw a negative sign on the end. 19 plus 11 is 30, plus this 8 is 38. Here I'll add the 15 and 7 to make 22. Add that with negative 12 and get positive 10. And then here I notice, so here I'm going to break my rule. Instead of adding the negatives together and then combining with that positive, I do notice that these two right here, the 7 and the negative 7, are additive inverses. So they're going to make 0. And the answer is going to leave me with just this negative 28 here. Okay. I'd like for you to put your name on these and get ready to pass them forward. But when you pass them forward, though, someone will pass out, or the substitute will pass out this next activity. It's titled Brr, It's Cold in Here. And it's just got 5 questions that are relatively easy, in my opinion. But what I'd like you to do with them is show your work using addition. Tomorrow's quiz is going to be almost entirely about addition, and any subtraction that's on it, I'm going to ask you to rewrite it as addition, right? Changing anywhere you think the word minus to plus the inverse of the next number. And so on any of these questions where you're thinking of, oh, the way to answer this is to do this minus this, I would rather you think of it as this plus the opposite of that number you were going to subtract. So show your work using an equation, but with addition. And then also, I'd like it if you could make number line models. Now, you don't have to make all the little lines. Some of these, you would have to draw like 100 lines for that. But for something like this, where you're going, the first question talks about going from 70 to 57. You could draw a number line where you're just showing, 70 is here and 57 is here. And I believe it's a temperature drop in this question. So you could show something like that. I want you to notice that I drew this number line vertically up and down. I did that on purpose because your quiz tomorrow, you will have to do a vector model. Just dropped my marker cap. You will have to do a vector model on tomorrow's quiz. And one thing that's different about it than the ones you've done before is that the number line that's already on the paper will be vertical up and down like this, rather than horizontal side by side like this. But other than that, literally nothing changes. Like, in fact, you could take your paper and just turn it sideways, and then it would be like doing the horizontal ones we've done. So don't freak out when you see that the number line that asks you to do a vector model on your quiz is vertical. Nothing else changes. Okay, so yeah, work with the people near you, or work by your own, on your own, whichever one you'd like. But spend maybe, I don't know how long it's going to take you guys to do this little packet, 12, 15 minutes. Whoever's running the class, if you could just pause this video here, and then restart it when it seems like everyone's kind of done, and I'll just go through the answers real quick. Okay, so hopefully you've had enough time to work this packet by now. And so let's take a look at it. The first one says, Mr. Wong is taking a vacation and goes to Los Angeles, where it is 70 degrees. He then flies back to Berkeley, where it's 57 degrees. How many degrees did the temperature drop from Los Angeles to Berkeley? Write an equation to model this change. So the normal way that most people would do this question is just 70 minus 57 equals 13, and that's your right answer. The way I'd prefer to see it from now on and on your quiz is 70 plus negative 57 equals 13. And then notice that this is not the proper way we've been practicing to make a vector model. Hopefully you noticed that when I did this little example earlier, that I didn't start at 0 and draw a vector to 70 first, and then a vector down from 70 to 57. That would have been the proper way, but I was just trying to, honestly, I was just trying to draw something to give you the idea of a vertical vector model, so you're not so surprised when you see that on tomorrow's quiz. So if you just do something like this, that's good enough for today. But remember, tomorrow on the quiz, First vector always starts at 0. And since we're being asked a question in words, let's answer it in words. The temp dropped 13 degrees. That little symbol up there means degrees. All right, the next one says, Mr. Wong is leaving Boston, where it is -10 degrees C, stands for Celsius. It's very cold. To sunny Hawaii, which is 21 degrees Celsius. That doesn't sound very hot, but in Celsius, it's pretty warm. What is the temperature change from Boston to Hawaii? Write an equation to model this change. So this one, we could draw a number line, and I'm going to purposely draw it vertical just as an excuse for you to see me do a vertical number line before the quiz tomorrow. And this one's not too bad because the lowest temperature I need to go to, let me see if I can get this on the screen a little bit better. I'm using all this space over here for this one question. Let's do a little more of this. So I could put 0 somewhere around here. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We'll call that -10. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to fit 21 above that 0. So this is kind of against the rules. When you scale something like a number line, you're supposed to try to make your spaces about the same, but I don't think I'm gonna be able to do that. So I'm gonna have to make little mini ones here on the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Okay, it's gonna be right there. And so when Mr. Wong went to Boston, he encountered some temperatures that was -10. So I'm gonna draw a vector going from 0 down to -10. And see, I'm doing it the exact same way I would if this were a horizontal number line, except negatives are down and positives are up now. So it's just up and down instead of left and right. And usually when we do questions about temperature, we tend to use vertical number lines just because they kind of mimic thermometers. Okay, and so next, in Hawaii, it was 21 degrees. And so we draw a vector all the way to 21. Now notice I didn't go up 21. So normally when you see me draw these vector models, you're like, I count and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna count 21 spaces. But I didn't do that this time because of the way the question's worded. They wanted to know, like, we know the temperature is gonna end at 21. So essentially what they wanna know is how long is this vector? What was that temperature change? And so, well, it's gonna be 10 to go from here, from -10 to 0, plus from 0 to 21 would be another 21. So one way to answer this question would be 10 plus 21 equals 31. But there's actually a special formula that does this answer for us called the distance formula. A formula for finding the distance between two spaces on the number line. And the way it works is you use your absolute value bars. And then you just do one number minus the other. And it doesn't matter which one you could do. I could do 21 minus -10 or -10 minus 21. Either or is going to give me the right answer. So I'll do -10 minus 21 in my absolute value bars. And so how I do that is I do the math in the bars without messing with the bars first. -10 minus 21, that's the same as -10 plus -21, which is the same as -31, right? I just added those up, but I still got my absolute value bars. My absolute value bars are the last thing I do. It means the answer is 31. So the temp change this time was 31 degrees. All right. Next one says, Mr. Thomas is taking a much-deserved vacation to New York. On the day that he leaves, the weather in Berkeley is a brisk 65 degrees Fahrenheit. But on the plane ride, he finds out the temperature in New York will be 81 degrees colder. What is the temperature in New York? So again, this is another question most people would just do with subtraction. You could do this as 65 minus 81. But I want to see you guys do it as 65 plus -81. But what's funny is when we do these types of questions, we still wind up using subtraction to solve them anyways, right? 81 minus 65 is 16. But the negative number was bigger. So the answer in this case is going to be -16. So just for the sake of time, I'm not going to write it out, but you should write a little conclusion that says something along the lines of the temperature in New York was negative 16 degrees. All right, and the second page with the questions about the no clues. It says at midday, the temperature was 9 degrees Celsius. The temperature then fell by 4 degrees Celsius, and goes down. What was the final temperature? And then the prompt says, Ms. No Clue thinks the above story is represented by 9 minus negative 4. Write a letter to Ms. No Clue, explain to her why she is incorrect, or what are her misconceptions. Then explain to her what the correct calculation is. So hopefully you explain to Ms. No Clue that the proper way to do this question would either be to do 9 minus 4 or 9 plus negative 4, because we want our temperature to be lower than where it was when we started, lower than 9. And 9 minus negative 4 is actually increasing temperature, right? Minus a negative is like adding positive. So the answer to this would be 13. That's not what we want. The answer to both of these would be 5. So any good answer that you wrote to this should have said something about subtracting a negative being like adding a positive to correct what Ms. No Clue was trying to do, and should have had 9 plus negative 4 and the actual answer being 5, somewhere in your explanation of Ms. No Clue. And then this last one here says, it was extremely cold at midnight. During the morning, the temperature rose by 5 degrees Celsius and had reached 11 degrees Celsius. What was the temperature at midnight? So this one, we should think of like there's some blank starting temperature and 5 degrees was added to that, and the final temperature was negative 11. And so we have to figure out what number, when you add 5 to it, you get negative 11. And Mr. No Clue thinks you should be able to do that by doing 5 minus negative 11. Mr. No Clue has the same misconception as Miss No Clue, right? He's trying to make numbers lower by subtracting negatives, and it just doesn't work that way. This 5 minus negative 11, that's going to equal positive 16. And so what I think Mr. No Clue should have done is taken, I think my pizza just arrived, this negative 11 and subtracted 5, or taken negative 11 and added negative 5 in order to get negative 16, which would be the correct answer. So that's going to be that for that worksheet. When tomorrow, before you take the quiz, I'll have a video kind of like prompting you on some directions I want you to do on that and a few examples. Please remember you have that Engage New York lesson 4 worksheet due tomorrow. And I'd like you to spend the rest of the class period, however much time there is left at this point, on a Desmos activity called Changing Temperatures. Right. I'll see you tomorrow in video form.